This episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast was brought to you by Murad Skincare Australia. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here, we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today, my guest is Marg from Ultimate Care Skin and Body Centre. Knowing what you want to be from a young age and pursuing it is one thing, but knowing what you want from a young age and dedicating yourself to commit to studying 10 hours away from your hometown is another. But that's exactly what Marg did. A career pathway which includes 17 years as a business owner in the small town of Mudgee, Marg is passionate about our industry, upskilling, creating community, and housing a team culture that her team thrives in, including, mind you, training 11 apprentices in her time. An industry aficionado, Marg has seen it all: beauty, salon, spa, and clinic, and the progression from one cohort to another, leaving Marg with much advice and insight that she shares with us today. Stepping outside of the treatment room to have this chat with me, you'll hear some spa music sounds dotted throughout the conversation. So sit back and relax as you tune in to some much needed inspiration. Here's Marg and I for Beauty Industry. Marg, welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast.
Hi, Tamara. How are you?
I'm so well. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
You're doing good? Surviving the lockdown so far?
Well, we're in regional New South Wales. So at the moment, we're escaping the lockdown.
Yeah.
One of our neighbouring regional towns, Orange, which you might know, they were locked down for a week last week. So we were all on very, very tender hooks because Orange is only 2 hours from us. But at the moment, the sun's shining because, which is a bonus because we've had a very, very miserable and wet, cold winter. So it's nice to see the sunshine out as well. But yes, we are at this stage very blessed because everyone in Melbourne and Sydney, it's just been such a tough haul for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it snow where you are? I see some photos of it snowing out in New South Wales Regional.
Yeah, we don't get it actually in the town. I always say we get it cold enough that it should be snowing, but we don't get the snow. However, this year we did have, back in, I think it was June, we had a day where it snowed. So the farms and everywhere, there were photos and people excited and people it was in the school holidays. So, there was snow everywhere. It was absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Gorgeous. So, Marg, you're a listener of the podcast, so you will be very familiar with how we start our episodes. And we go all the way back to how our guests originally entered into the professional beauty and aesthetic industry. So I'd love to start with you there today. Where did your career path start?
Well, I was a little country girl living in remote out of Dubbo in central regional New South Wales. And I was, always going to be a nurse or a vet nurse because I had little sick animals, sick piglets, sick calves. And I was I actually fell in love with Dolly magazine, as most teenagers of my ilk did. And my sister was married and had her makeup done. And I just thought that was the most glamorous, amazing job that anyone could have. So like a lot of us in the beauty industry, we're originally attracted through makeup. At that age, particularly too, I was only 16 and promptly left school in year 11 to my teacher's disgust. But, my parents weren't too concerned because we were from a farming family. My dad rang up the local stock and station agent and got me a job the next day doing secretarial office work, which I hated. And I promptly enrolled myself that I'd noticed in a weekend newspaper for a correspondence beauty course at Diana Nolan. And some of your listeners may remember Diana. She was one of the leaders in beauty, like, along with Margie Ruby and Arlen Lazar and Shirley Strickland. These names probably mean nothing to a lot of your younger viewers, listeners, sorry, but to anyone, sort of in the 70s and 80s, they were the ladies we all looked up to and admired. So Dubbo is a 10-hour round trip from Sydney, and I had to go to Sydney very regularly doing my course, and it was huge. Either taking the train down with my mum, and we'd stay at some distant relation that I didn't even know while I went off to do my practical side of it. And in that time, I annoyed the one local beauty salon so much, the owner in Dubbo, that she just said, look, I may as well put you on because you're here every afternoon and I can't stand it. So so that's how I got my first job. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was just pure persistence, really. But the passion for education and self-development came with that, just the going to Sydney and, the big smoke, as we call it in the country, and mixing it and feeling feeling quite inferior to the girls that were training down there, and being a correspondence too. Never felt really part of the team. I used to come in on my days and the girls would all be there in a real clique, and there'd be the little country bumpkin that would turn up in the classes. So you had to really put yourself out there and back yourself to do that. And then after I had worked for my first boss, I then decided that I wanted to do electrolysis. So again, by this stage I was with my now husband, my boyfriend, one and only life partner, and he used to drive me down on a Friday evening after work. I'd go to, Shirley made Pacific arrangements for me, and I would do my electrolysis training with her on a Saturday, one-on-one, and that went on for about 6 months. And then I started, helping her out in her salon at Birkenhead Point on weekends, and then drive back on a Sunday night to start work again on the Monday at the salon in Dubbo. So it was just, I couldn't get enough of it. I could not. I lived and breathed it. Christmas Day, everyone got a pedicure. It was just, if you laid down in a supine position when I was training, you would get lash tinted, waxed. It didn't matter. You would have when I was training to do electrolysis, I just sit there on my dad, inserting the needle until I got it perfect. And that's where I think with me, that desire to always know what's going on and learning, that's when all that really started.
Yeah, wow. How do you reflect on yourself as a 16-year-old with all that tenacity and, persistence and the travel of 10 hours into Sydney and back? I think not a lot of 16-year-olds have the determination to do that.
I honestly don't know. I really feel I was just picked up, and it picked me up, and I had support. Like, I had amazing support. My parents, like my dear old mum, who's no longer with us, was so out of her depth in Sydney, but she'd travel on the train down with me. And my boyfriend at that stage, he would just do any, he still would back me and do anything. So it's the tenacity, I think, is still there. If I need to, I will still fight the good fight. I'm not someone that likes conflict at all, but I just feel, and still, Tamara, I'm always astounded when we go to Sydney for training, and I'll take my whole team down at times, we're in Mudgee now, so we're closer. We're about 4 hours to Sydney, and I'll get to training, and the majority of the people there are from country and regional areas, and yet I get so frustrated with the city girls that need to just walk around or drive across, a suburb, and they're at the training. Beauty Expo, every year I've been in business, I've taken my whole team to Beauty Expo. We've done, spent the days I learned in the very early days because I used to take my girls down and I'd do all the training, do all the classes, and they'd walk around the beauty expo and then they'd sneak out and go shopping. So I had to put in place very early that if you come to the beauty expo, you have to go to the education for at least half of it, to the point now where my girls now are so excited that's what they do first. They book their education passes, and unfortunately, it's been postponed again this year, but hopefully we will get there. But I try really hard, and I find that, I suppose, one of my biggest, I suppose it is a fault in my personality that I get very disheartened when I can't get the passion that I have in my staff, like the passion. And I was only listening to one of your podcasts recently where you mentioned that to self-educate, it doesn't always have to be paid for. It doesn't always have to be your boss telling you to do it. There is so much out there now. I've never seen anything like it. Like, you could just do something every day if you wanted to. So, I suppose my girls get a little bit sick of me rambling on. Like, I'm 60 next year and I'm still learning every day. Like, there wouldn't be a day where I don't look up something or am involved in something. So, yeah, it's been a big thing, part of my life.
Amazing. Yeah, I even just saw the other day on our Facebook community, somebody said, does anybody have any training discounts? Because, I want to start to learn. And I just looked at our website. We've got over 160 different blog pieces, 180 podcast episodes, and this is all free education, and even back when I was training, only 15 years ago, there was nothing like this. I think Bridget Benge had like a monthly newsletter, which I would print off and stick up in the staff room, and that was all. So we're very privileged these days to have all the education.
And I mean, I've done work with Bridget. She toughened me up a lot because and opened my eyes to, and I remember one of the things she said was, what's your end goal here? Are you just going to be working like this for the rest of your life? You can't do that. And at the moment, I'm privileged enough that I only work 2 days a week in the salon. I had a scare with, I had breast cancer at the end of 2019, was just finished the treatment when COVID hit. So, the end goal is to, not be in the salon every day and have really great staff and, and potentially sell for a mozza one day. So, it's you really do have to. So Bridget she was there in the beginning, I think, where was a beginning of a lot of what's happening now. But I can remember in lockdown last year, I was so anxious because there was so much training going on, and it was all doubling up and on top of each other. And I was sort of doing my own thing with connecting to our clients via Zoom and different formats. And in that time, like what so many of us did, we all decided to revamp our salons. So I completely painted our previous salon. And then I'd get really frustrated because I was missing all this amazing education because, you go, oh my goodness, this one's doing it, Tamara's doing that. So it was a great time, but it was, for me, it was really an anxiety-based time because I feel like I was just missing out the whole time.
It's that's what do they call it? Like a double-ended stick or something like that.
Double-edged sword.
That one, yes, double-edged sword.
But luckily I got all my girls, and most of them were doing education, and I said, you're on JobKeeper. Effectively, I'm paying you. I would just like you to do something educational every day. And they did. They all got on board, and they were all, sort of talking backwards and forwards about which course they'd done or what podcast they'd listened to. So it was just the community. It blew me away. It really did. How everyone just got in there, and our suppliers. As you'd know, like the suppliers were just there running Zooms, and they're doing it again now for the guys in lockdown in Sydney. So, it's been great.
We've been very, very fortunate in a way. I'm wondering, was there a defining moment where you wanted to be your own business owner?
Yeah, there was. The old story of I'd worked for my boss that I got my first job with, and a couple of little funny stories there that I still remember is, because I was training still, doing the correspondence course. And I'll just give you one antidote because I still remember this day like it was yesterday. And I was doing a facial on a lady whose name was Mrs. Langford. I'll never forget her. And my boss sort of it was the day of the curtain divided rooms. And she just said, I'm just going to the bank. I'll be back. And I had gotten as far as the massage in the facial. So I didn't know what to do after the massage. I didn't know what mask to put. I knew a mask came, but I didn't know where the masks were, what to do. So she went to the bank and didn't come back for about 45 minutes. So Mrs. Langdon had a 45-minute facial massage. She became my most regular client, and never in her whole time did she have a mask because she felt that was the best facial she'd ever had in her life.
Wow.
Was a 45-minute facial massage in her facial. And that she was. So my first boss, I worked for her for 5 years. I managed her salon while she went overseas several times. And the same old story that happens to a lot of us. I was paid $60 from the day I started to the day I finished. And I think a lot of people leave their employer because they feel underappreciated. And that's what I did. So I opened my first salon, and my ideals were to just give the best treatments I could possibly give and be involved in, having the best salon in Dubbo at the time. And there's one thing, though, I will really thank my first boss for, is she introduced me to the Beauty Expo. We went to the very first Beauty Expo at the Hilton Hotel, and she took me to several courses. We went to the first strip wax course. So we were one of the first salons, I think, to introduce strip waxing. So there was no more straining hot hairs out of hot wax in the back kitchen. And she did ignite that in me as well. We did a few makeup courses and things like that. But the other funny story was the very first week I started, she had a wedding makeup to do, and she said, you can come and help, Marg. I said, oh, that's great. This is exciting. This is what I wanted to do. And we got there and she said, you can do the bridesmaids, these two bridesmaids. And I'd never done a makeup in my life.
Yeah.
So it was when my girls are training, and a lot of girls get terrified of doing makeup. And I told them that story, and I truly believe they don't believe me when I tell them that. But it was just back yourself. I've just got to back myself. From that day on, it probably wasn't my best work. And I apologise to those bridesmaids if there are photos floating around that you didn't know that you were getting the girl that only started yesterday. But, we did it. So, yeah. I think with most people, in those days, you do think you're going to, make lots of money and it's going to be, profitable. But I think the main desire for people, or for myself, but I think for most of us, is we really want to do the best treatments. We want to have the best salon. And with my staff now, I really, really remember what that was like. And my staff none of them are expected to work every Saturday unless that's their choice, because I never had a Saturday off in 5 years. I never had a Thursday night off in 5 years. 38 hours, what was that? It didn't exist. You worked, every day and Thursday nights and every Saturday. And I really try to make them feel valued. I really, really am passionate about them never feeling that, that they need to go somewhere else. Even though that happens occasionally. In the 17 years I've been in business, I've only ever had one therapist go to another salon. Wow. So my first apprentice of 17 years ago still works for me.
Wow.
She's had two children. Mind you, I'm very, very flexible with my girls too. So they come back, and they might only come back and do one shift a week, but I would rather them back so that when they decide they want to come back more, I've got them there. So, yeah, I think I answered your question. I probably got off a bit. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. And it says a lot about the business owners who have been in business for such a long time. I mean, 17 years is such a champion feat. But then, people who are able to recruit and retain their team members, I think nowadays longer than 3 years, 5 years in our industry, because it's so fragile. But I mean, 11 years, it's certainly a credit to you. You obviously value and validate your team so much that they don't feel necessary to go anywhere else because they're getting that all with you. After the break, Marg speaks to what scares her and what excites her about the future of our industry. But first, a word from today's beauty partner. Community, if you are looking to gain total skin wellness, then look no further than Murad. Murad is all about inclusive skin health, delivering clinical results via a fully customizable capsule collection of professional treatments and a comprehensive range of retail products. Dr. Murad, dermatologist, pharmacist, and founder of the Murad brand, believes in science-backed professional skincare treatments combined with a total wellness approach. Simply put, Murad transforms skin through their products and their philosophies. Skincare, healthcare, self-care. If you're serious about skin, contact info@murad.com.au. Beauty industry listeners receive 50% off their first professional order of $500 or more. And if you want to know more, then you can start your skin wellness journey at murad.com.au. Thank you so much to the team at Murad Skincare Australia for making this episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast possible. And now back to Marg.
Yeah, I feel that as well. And I mean, the young girl that left, it was personal reasons, and it was a challenge where she was going. I suppose if I stepped down, she could have had that challenge here, but she wanted more, so no hard feelings. But I just mind you, juggling 10 staff with 17 kids between us. It's sometimes I'm not this cool, calm and collected.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you about some of those challenges that you may have faced in business, and I'm assuming that staff and team is probably the biggest one there.
I think if you ask any business owner, that is what it is. And I think that's the wonderful part about what you're doing here, Tamara, is that we can all talk in a safe environment. I mean, even to fellow business owners in a small regional country town, Mudgee's only got a population of 10,000 people. If I'm having a bad day and go out and start ranting and raving about, my staff, there's likely to be their best friend there, or someone's looking at me going, they're great girls, what's wrong with you? Whereas when we can talk amongst ourselves with our peers, everyone knows that we actually really love our staff. It's just a matter of there's some days when it really gets tough. And at the end of the day, we are the ones that will have to come in if there's no staff available. And that is a challenge. And I mean, the same thing with cash flow. I think that's probably another challenge that a lot of business owners, you get, and you always have that feeling of, if I have a really, really great year and then I get huge tax bill, so there's always that. But flexibility, and where I am now at the moment, where I can, on my days off, I usually spend the afternoon working on the salon, but the morning is mine. Walk my dog, go and have a coffee, do a Pilates class, and then sit on the computer. And I think you really, and sort of doing the whole cancer thing, it does change your perspective a little bit, or a lot. And you have to just sit back and go, what's this all about? And I've got to do this for myself. And I know I'm in groups with a lot of girls, and a lot of them are younger, like yourself. And these young girls are saying to me, "Oh, look what you're doing. You're only working 2 days a week, and that's what I want." But it's taken me a long time. That's only happened in the last 12 months. So it's I think it is a long haul, and there are lots of challenges. And the biggest one we've got at the moment, which don't like to use the word unprecedented, but it is unprecedented. So we just don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a big level of entitlement as well with people that are coming into the industry now. And, just from what I've heard, we have in interviews ladies saying, well, I want to be paid $40 an hour and I'm not working Saturdays and I'm not working late nights, and oh well, I haven't actually trained, I've just trained myself from YouTube and things like this. And I still may be a young pup, but I've been in the industry for 15 years and I feel like I'm mortified when I hear that. I just think I would never ever, I mean, even now if I came into the industry with a mentality, I would still never think that. But yeah, it's the industry is certainly changing, isn't it?
It is. And I think too, my era of the problem, the way we raised our kids, the baby boomers, we are the ones that gave that entitlement to our children. So yeah, it's a tough one, because I can see, we all want the best for our children. We all want to give them that privilege. But one thing I will say, I think if anyone has a mum that owns a beauty salon, they will see a work ethic, because my children and I'm a very proud mum of 3 grown-up children, and the 3 of them have got incredible work ethics. They all work and live in Sydney, so I don't know when I'm going to see them again. And as you've worked in that industry, you've owned a business, and the work ethic we get from that, and because we care about a client, and because we don't want that client to miss an appointment, we don't want our clients to go somewhere else, we will stay back. We will, and you'll have friends, you will have had people say this to you, oh, I don't know why you do that. I don't know why you're staying back to do that, client. Just go. But you have to, because we rely on those clients. We rely on them. I heard a really, really good analogy the other day from a very successful business person in Mudgee who has run a very successful real estate agency. And he said, which really, really hit home with me, he said, I always say to my staff that I pay your bills, but I'm really not your boss. Your boss is our clients. And I just took that and came straight back to our next staff meeting with that, because I do pay the bills, but the client, if I haven't got the client, then I can't pay the bills. So that client effectively is my boss.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Richard Branson said something very familiar. I can't remember what it is now. I'll try and find it and I'll put it on our Instagram. But yeah, it's that the customer, the client is always the boss. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it comes to being in business for 17 years, I'm sure you've done a lot of professional and also personal development. And something we chat about a lot nowadays is things like values. Is this something that you run your business by quite heavily, or have you done a little bit of work in values at all?
Yeah, I think my biggest is I try to be the best person I can be. And by being that in my personal life, and my children and my staff, my children are my greatest success, and next to my staff and my business. So I have very high morals. I try to be a good person. I think if you can be a good person, and with being a good person, that means kindness, consideration, compassion, all those things, honesty, then if your staff are seeing you do that on a day-to-day basis, then it just becomes the culture of the salon. And, we have that in spades here with the girls. Like, they really do, we'll go out the back and say, oh, Mrs. Such and Such. But the girls that I've got, well, they're very, very compassionate for the clients. It's really, really lovely to see.
Yeah, beautiful. In terms of running your business, do you put in a lot of steps or a lot of strategy or a lot of planning, into like a quarterly or a half year, or are you just kind of like a let's wing it and see what happens? I mean, obviously during COVID, I think everyone is winging it, but generally speaking.
Yeah, I always admire people that can do those mind maps and goal setting and things like that. Mine is more loose, and I can have all the strategies in the world. Like, I can have my goals, I can have strategies, I can have lists and bits of paper and things. But at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to my gut. And I've found over the years that when I haven't trusted my gut, it hasn't been the right decision. And through with wisdom of age and longevity in the business, I feel that I trust my gut so much more now. And I really would love to be one of those people that, can put all the things up on a whiteboard and tick them off and be that really strategy-driven, goal-driven person. But I find I'm probably 60-40 emotionally driven with my head and my gut, and then 40% is definitely making lists and being accountable and things like that. So I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing, but I do admire people that can be really goal driven though.
Well, I mean, you've been in business for 17 years, so I think it's a pretty damn good thing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, everyone's got to do it how they do it though, don't they?
Absolutely.
We can't if it's not working, you've got to work out how to make it work. So, yeah.
You mentioned before that you were at one of the first Beauty Expo Australias, which I think is so, so cool. How have you seen the industry and the landscape change over, those last few years?
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. I don't know that, apart probably from medicine, I don't know that there's another industry that changes as quickly and as rapidly as ours. And I remember some advice I had once, and I can't remember where it was. It was some training that I did, and they said to make sure that you're not following fads, you're following trends, and to try and decipher your way through that. But I think one of the biggest things that I have seen in my career, because I'm nearly 60, so 60 next March. So I'm, 59 and a half, started when I was 16. And a facial consisted of, if the client wanted it, a 45-minute massage. And there was nothing that actually changed the skin. They would walk out with a glowing skin. But to cosmeceuticals, oh my goodness, it has changed the landscape of our business. It really has. And to be able to use a product that is going to give a result, it's so exciting, but it's also so rewarding because we can offer a change to someone's skincare. So also with that, the different modalities now, like the machinery that's out there, and we've just purchased a new body sculpting machine. So this is a first for me. This is when we talk about gut over, with head. Even though I have researched it, this is a really big thing for us. And of course, it's in lockdown in Sydney, and we can't get it here. And it's, we're trying to, introduce something new to the salon because everything was going so well up until now. Figures were crazy. And without a doubt, social media and the internet. Oh my goodness. Like, this is just an example. So today we're very quiet. We've had a couple of weeks where we've lost our tourists because we're a really big tourist destination for Sydney. We've got wineries and beautiful food here. We're a tourist destination, and we've lost all our visitors. So I just sitting there an hour ago, 2 hours ago, and I thought, I'm just going to send out a reminder to all our clients who've got a gift voucher, and just did a text and said, hi, 160 characters I could use. So it was, hi, just letting you know that you've had a gift voucher, been given one of our gift vouchers, and it could be about to expire. Why not book in? And literally at 2:00 it went out, and we couldn't get off the phone. I was thinking, I'm not going to get to tomorrow. There's phone call after phone call after phone call.
Wow.
That's something you would not have been able to do. We would have had to have written a little note and posted it back in the day. So the technology that's out there in social media and, doing something like this and talking to you. And I know I talk to girls on Instagram and Facebook in messenger groups and things now, and I've never met them. I only know them because of their avatar, and, we'll all chat and talk about, what are you doing? Are you thinking about? And like with researching this new machine, I approached, I think, 10 different salons, and all of them were fantastic, just explained what I wanted, and they gave me great support. So even though it's a very isolating time and people aren't seeing each other, it's also been, it's been a great time like that as well. But they would be my three things that I've seen change the most. So it's the cosmeceutical that has come into our toolbox, the machinery that we can use now, like skin needling, plasma fibroblast. It's mind-boggling from someone that's been in the industry so long. You gorgeous young things are all used to it. Although you 15 years, you would have noticed that as well, Tamara. And then social media. Oh my God, what would we do without it?
Absolutely. I know it's funny to even think about how we run our business prior to social media, isn't it?
Oh, remember the newsletters.
The phone calls.
Yeah, the phone call, the newsletters, the folding the newsletters, posting the newsletters. It was, I look back on it now and just think, wow.
Yeah, we've come a long way. What excites you and what scares you about our industry?
Well, I think what excites me is what we were just talking about, is that I don't know where it's going to end. I think it's just the results and what we can offer our clients now is just amazing. And that scares me as well, because it's also, and I've listened to a lot of your podcasts recently, and it is a genuine fear that's out there that people are just grabbing these devices and not training and don't know. And I feel that that's scary. So that's scary as well. I suppose I still feel our industry, I have said for a long time, and I really think within the next decade, I don't know, prophecy by Marg, is that beauty will be a university. It should be a university degree. A degree. And that's coming from someone who started doing correspondence. I really feel that where it's going, there needs to be the regulation put in place, and we really need to, and I mean, you look at what's happening with the new ABIC and things like that, where these girls are getting in there, and you're involved in that too, I think.
Yeah.
Is that we need that platform. And I just remember, I think I commented on this in one of your posts, someone was saying what really annoys you about how we are seen in public. And when COVID lockdown, and there was sort of the jokes going around from the health department about, we're getting so many requests for the nail ladies to come back to work, and
the beauticians. Yeah.
And I hate that word. I really hate that word, because we're much more than that. We're much more than that, and yet even the politicians and the head of Australian Health or whatever were making a joke of what we do, and that's where I just sort of went, so that scares me. That we need to there needs to be more regulation. There needs to be more value put on what we do. We're not just and that's saying nothing against the girls that are doing nails and doing eyelashes. We do just natural nail. We don't shellax the most. We do, and I don't want to do anything fake or even our tanning we have, just because we have some clients that still want it, but there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, that's fine. But I just think that, and I really do think a lot of young girls that start in the industry think that's all they're going to do, and that's why you can't get them passionate about skincare and educating, because they don't really want to do it. They're quite happy. Nothing wrong with that, but you probably need to be in a salon that is offering that, and not a more serious orientated skin clinic.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying about us just not being recognized, and hearing that word beautician and beauty parlor every single day on the news. I was sitting here banging my head across the wall, just going, are you serious? They have no idea. And I remember I sat in one government meeting and they just kept on saying spray tanning and nails and waxing and spray tanning and nails and waxing. And I'm going, do they not know how much more of the body we work on, skin, and how emotional it is, and we change confidence and change lives? And that's when I joined a few people on a call and said we need to create an association because this is just so inaccurate. So I'm with you. In the next decade, hopefully we become a little bit more recognized and appreciated as an industry. Sorry, go for it.
No, I'm sitting here nodding at you. Yeah. Well said.
What's the biggest lesson 17 years as a business owner that you've taken away that you could perhaps share with somebody who, maybe wanting to be a business owner or, sitting there thinking, should I continue to go on? How many lessons have you learnt? I mean, we could be here forever, right?
We could. I think the biggest lesson is if you own the business, there's no days off.
Yeah.
Ever. But having said that, wow, it's so rewarding when you will wear a finalist again this year in the ARBIA Awards, which I, again, had a bit of an inferiority complex and thought, I can't enter that. Like, we're in Mudgee, we're a tiny town. And I was encouraged to do that through a couple of Carla, who you'd know, from Orange and Bathurst, and said, no, have a go at it. And, to be a finalist 2 years in a row. And so that's really exciting. And you have those moments where you can't believe what you've achieved. But I think the lesson is where you will always be pulled in so many directions. And now with your little boy, your life changes as soon as you have children. And your business is as equally, my business was and still is equally as consuming as any of my children were. It's been naughtier. It's had to have more attention and I can only thank my kids because they are my biggest fans. They're just amazing. That's probably got a little bit to do with free treatments as well when they come home. But I just think you've just got to be prepared that lesson taken. You've just got to be prepared that it's not going to happen overnight. It's all consuming, really. It really is as big a decision as having a baby as opening a business.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Sitting here having a baby and also trying to run a business, only 5 months later, it is super tough.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Marg. You have been an absolute delight to chat to today. Thank you so much for stepping out of the treatment room and stepping in to record. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the confidence to talk.
What a special soul. Often people ask me how I choose people to speak to on this podcast, and honestly, there's no qualification process. You don't have to have a booming business, a sexy title, or even own your own product range. I just want to have real conversations with people who are out there doing it like you every single day, and that conversation with Marg today hit the nail on the head for me. If you would like to continue to support our podcast, you can do so by showing a friend that you listen to our conversations just by simply screenshotting the podcast app of which you're listening to and posting it onto your story across Facebook or Instagram. While you're there, feel free to show Marg's business some love by searching for her over at Ultimate Care and of course tagging us as you do so at Beauty Industry. And yes, we are always looking for more people to speak to on the podcast, so make sure you come and say hello to me in the DMs at Tamara Reed Beauty and put yourself out there because you just might be surprised at how much you too have accomplished once we start chatting. Appreciate you for listening. Until next time, stay connected.